What's up, guys? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to a new series that I'm going to call Motocross Gaming News, the MXGN series on the channel, where today we're going to talk about this machine right here. This is the Beta 450 in MX Bikes, which has now been banned in ARL competition. That is right, folks. They have deemed this bike to be basically too good. A weight distribution problem that they made on these OEMs have made this bike simply just too much. And everyone has been riding them over the last couple of weeks, and then ARL put out a vote to ask people whether or not that we should keep them or if they should have a little bit more variance. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in this video as we ride Tampa here in MX Bikes. So really, this beta presented two problems that have since kind of been kiboshed this week by the ARL Pro Racing crew in MX Bikes. And the first one that was banned yesterday, at least of time of recording, is the ability to front flip on these bikes. And you can front flip on any bike. The Beta isn't the only bike that you can front flip on, but what they mean by that is going into a supercross triple face or really any jump face and getting the lip or the nose of the bike over the lip of this triple and front flipping. And it's basically the gamer's version of scrubbing, if you will. If you guys have played Mad Skills Motocross over the years, you know that front flipping has been super fast to do in Mad Skills Motocross, and then they eventually just made it so that you can now scrub in that game, so that they kind of took away that element of front flipping everything a little bit, but you still front flip a lot of stuff to go fast. And look, it's a video game, so at the end of the day, people are going to find the fastest way to do stuff, and people were figuring that out. And the Beta is not, in my opinion, like the true catalyst of this. Yes, a lot of people have been using the Beta to do it because it's lighter, it's easier to get the front end up, it has a little bit more power than the rest of the bikes, so even that helps with getting, you know, the tire planted and go forward. But you can front flip on any bike. I mean, I've done front flips on, as you know, the slowest bikes in the game, really, just because you come out of a corner, you get the nose high coming out of the corner, and then bam, you're front flipping. Linz did a very in-depth video yesterday talking about the tracks that this works on specifically for supercross triples, because it's very much has to do with like the distribution coming out of the corner. So like you turn out of the corner, and then as you stand it up, you get the nose over the front of a jump like that. And it, you know, coming out of a bull corner, as you stand the bike back up and you're tracking forward, the nose tends to come up. It happens on any bike. But, you know, like he was saying, out of certain 90-degree corners where you're not even going straight enough into the triple, by the time you hit the triple, it's not going to matter. He showed off San Diego with that. But this track, it definitely works. And I mean, literally, if you watch Linz's video, which I can include a link to in the description, he hits that supercross triple, I don't even know, maybe 8 times in a row, and front flips it every single time, no problem. So, you know, much more talented than me at this game to be able to do that. But honestly, the fact that anybody can do that consistently is part of why the ARL crew looked at it in the first place as something that, hey, this needs to be banned. This is getting ridiculous. Not even from a competitive standpoint of like something that would make the racing a little bit more fair, but just from the aesthetic standpoint of it. You know, they're trying to show this game off as a simulator. And when you're watching a broadcast of it, like Navo streams every Friday, and then half the field's doing front flips off supercross triples, yeah, it looks pretty stupid. So I can, you know, I've seen some feedback. I've seen some people complaining about this, like, oh, you're eliminating an element of the game that people, you know, can do. It's just games. It's how it works. Like, other games don't eliminate unfair advantages like this. But again, I've seen this happen in sim. Like, it's honestly, from my perspective, even kind of funny that they're, you know, going through this growing pains a little bit now, because sim has had so many of these in the past where things were going on or things were happening, and then the game either changed or they did something to outlaw it. A lot of it had to do with like doing certain jump lines of like crossing over split lanes or things like that, which now they just put invisible walls up for. But also, the biggest thing in MX Sim that happened was Alexis Leclerc used to be able to switch back and forth between whole shot setups and arcade mode in the game, because you didn't have to stop to be able to change those things in the past. And so he would do that, and then JLV, the game creator, eventually implemented a thing where you have to be fully stopped for 2 seconds to be able to switch setups and all this stuff like that. So that was even an evolution of the game that eventually came out because of a player trying to take an advantage. And like, I don't blame Leclerc for doing it, because he found a loophole in the game that actually worked and made the game, you know, for him a little bit easier, because he could get really good hole shots with one setup, and then off a supercross triple after hole shotting a main event, change to a setup that worked around the rest of the track. So I don't knock him for doing that, and the same way I don't knock people who figured out this competitive advantage and were actually doing it really well. The thing about the Beta, though, to me, that's kind of funny is in MX Sim, this has been the norm for years, and honestly it's become the norm in MX bikes too, where one bike gets a competitive advantage that's like so astronomically unfair that everyone uses it. And to be honest, like the KTM was kind of that for the last couple years in bikes, and then obviously with the new OEMs I feel like everyone was using the Husky, or at least the Husky 250, and then the Beta came out at the beginning of the year, and then people have just really been taking off with the Beta and running with it. So you know, like I don't feel like that this is anything that's like drastically new. It just sounds like this time the OEM team really did find a technical advantage, or you know, the players I guess found a technical advantage that the OEM team maybe overlooked or something along those lines. And I would assume that within due time this will be fixed. This Beta will be nerfed, if that's what you want to call it, brought back down to life, earth, whatever you want to call it. And then before long, we'll see the Beta back out there again, but probably not as the bike that everyone uses. I feel like we'll get back to everyone probably on the KTM or something along those lines once again, and then everyone does model swaps. But like I said, even in MX Sim, I mean, literally everyone uses the FC450 in Supercross, the 2018 version, because in Sim, it's not about, oh, you're on this bike and that's the skin you have to run. You can run whatever bike skin you want on any dyno, and so everyone always runs the same FC 450 from 2018. Sometimes people run the 2017 CRF 450, but for the most part it's always that Husqvarna. And then 250 Supercross, it's not even close. Everyone uses the 2018 250 SXF. So yeah, I mean, like across the board this is going to happen. Everyone's always going to go and try to find which bike is the best and then use that bike. And until we get like to some degree real manufacturers involved in this game to try to change this up a little bit, or you know, even in that case it would probably be that they would just try to make it fair across the board. But until we get like Yamaha and KTM and Suzuki and all these manufacturers really involved in these games and want to have like competitive teams that riders, you know, use those bikes, we're always going to have this problem where everyone's going to go to the fastest, the best bike. So this Beta, it does feel light, it does feel fast, feels torquey, powerful, but I don't know that it's like miles better. I guess it is just enough though that people have decided to outlaw it. Apparently 82 people voted to get it banned from competitive racing, at least for the time being. And that was officially passed by RRL as of this morning. They put out an announcement to say, yeah, these bikes are done. So this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like on the track. I want to jump over to a different bike real quick that I have been running more consistently and just see, because I have not done as much testing on the Beta as most other people have, so I don't really know whether or not it is like amazing. But I want to test out a different bike that I have been feeling pretty good on and see just how close I do get to some of these lap times. All right, so over to my trusty KTM we go. And like I said, I have been riding this bike a little bit more, and what I can already, I feel like, tell is that the Beta is so much more powerful coming out of the corners that like you almost have to be even that much more feathery on the throttle with the bike. So I almost kind of don't even like it for that reason. Like I feel like as a player of my caliber, it's too much a little bit in Supercross, whereas this bike coming out of the corners, like there's not enough aggressive power on the KTM that you feel like you're just going to loop out everywhere, where the Beta totally does. So while the Beta is faster, you have to learn how to ride that bike that fast. Like there's no way you can be that fast and competitive just, I feel like, jumping from one of these normal bikes over. But it is kind of alarming, I guess, now playing this on this track, because I hadn't played Tampa very much before I rode the Beta around it, how much different this bike feels on this track versus the Beta. Like it feels, this bike feels way more planted. It obviously feels slower. It just doesn't feel snappy in any regard. It feels smooth and fluid, whereas the Beta feels like 0 to hero almost. Like it kind of feels like riding the RMzilla, which is the like whatever 480 some odd horsepower Suzuki bike that someone made in this game, where like you have to be 10% throttle, or if you're above that you're just going to start looping out, and it's kind of ridiculous. So I guess again see why from the racing standpoint people would be like, okay, this bike is quite literally not realistic. The KTM that I'm riding on here feels like what these bikes should feel like on this track. Feels just powerful enough to do all the big lines, but not so powerful that it's unrealistic to do, you know, something crazy. Like I couldn't hit anything big on this track, but I would not be shocked if the Beta can do some big lines that a KTM or a Yamaha in this game just simply could not. So there's also that aspect of it where they're like, well, we don't want to give people who are comfortable on the beta even that much more of like an unfair playing field, because then they're able to go quad in a rhythm section that no one else is even, doing something comfortable in. So again, I get it. Like, people are going to be upset on some degree that they're, tampering with this and choosing to go a route where they strictly just ban a machine that is available in the game. But I mean, there's a lot of machines available in this game that they don't include in the race series. So I'm not that fussed about it, other than the fact that I guess if you're a beta or a beta fan, you're like, dang it, man, I wanted people to ride our bikes, or I wanted people to ride a bike that I'm happy with, and now I got to jump over and try something different. I guess the silver lining to this is that they're giving guys like 2.5 days really from now until Friday evening for the at least the NA series to get acclimated to a different bike again. If you'd been testing on the beta for the last couple of weeks, now you got to switch over and get comfortable on something else, which again, I've seen it in the past. I like, for those people that are complaining, JLV in MX Sim literally waited until like the day before Anaheim 1 in MX Simulator to drop completely new OEMs in the game, or whatever he calls them, dynos I guess is what they're called, for everyone to play and get used to and try. And like, you could still use the old dynos, but everyone knew that the new ones would be faster and better and all this stuff like that. Kind of screwed me over because I was a broadcaster at that point in time, so I went from downloading hundreds of team packs that were on the old dynos to hundreds of team packs that were on the new dyno within like a day. But we've seen it before, so this is nothing new. I feel like people are going to react negatively to some of this or positively, but either way, we've seen it before. They try to level the playing field when it comes to esports and esports competitions, and when you have something like that beta being as competitive as it, or over competitive as it was, like it was just unrealistically so, I can see why they took the action that they did. So that's a little bit of an MXGN update here on Start Your Systems today. MX Bikes bans the Beta 450. Well, I should say ARL bans the Beta 450 in MX Bikes from their racing competition. And we'll keep tracking this story. We'll see if anything else comes from this, if the OEM team now responds and goes in and nerfs the beta and what have you from here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little synopsis of what's going on in the racing world in MX Bikes. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section below. Happy to get down there and chat with you guys. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.